Of all man's traveling inventions, it's hard to think of one less aerodynamic than a steam locomotive. Save for some Jeep vehicles, depending on who you ask. Such things are to be expected, though, as it was the steam locomotive that first accelerated humans to speeds where aerodynamics came into play. As trains reached higher speeds, aerodynamics became more and more of a factor. Some of the earliest examples of aerodynamic changes made to steam locomotives were for smoke management. The exhaust from the locomotive stack was ejected at some pressure, but the upward velocity of the exhaust smoke and steam could be overcome by the onslaught of the air the engine was pushing through. This meant the locomotive's exhaust would linger low, obscuring the crew's vision and occasionally filling the passenger cars with smoke. Many different devices were tried to mitigate this problem. One of the most widespread solutions was a pair of metal plates mounted on the front of the engine. These were nicknamed elephant ears due to their appearance. Their actual name was a little more straightforward: smoke deflectors. A steam locomotive pushes a lot of air out of the way as it moves forward, creating turbulence that gets more and more intense as speed increases. This turbulence could catch the smoke and drag it back down along the train. Smoke deflectors catch and smooth out some of this turbulence, allowing the smoke to escape as well as forcing some of the air the locomotive has pushed aside upwards, boosting the smoke slightly higher. While some locomotives with smoke deflectors had angled plates on their fronts to start the air moving in an upward direction, this photo from a 1920s test in a German wind tunnel showed that deflectors work even without an angled plate below. A little bit of turbulence control could make the ride for passengers and crew much safer all around. But steam locomotives still had a lot of blunt surfaces that the airflow had to navigate around. Mitigating this was the subject of experimentation for decades. In the 1930s, with the rise of Art Deco, aerodynamics took on both a functional and aesthetic role. Streamlining became the symbol of modern passenger rail. New York Central Hudson, number 5344, is often cited as the pioneering streamlined steam locomotive in the United States, but there were streamlined self-propelled rail cars before her. Some detractors claimed she looked like an upside-down bathtub. In 1941, the Norfolk and Western Railway rolled out the prototype for their newest class of locomotive, the J-Class 484 Northerns. Equipped with roller bearings wherever possible and very carefully balanced, the J-Class could reach high speeds but still have enough torque to wrestle passenger trains over the Blue Ridge Mountains. The J's were typical of streamlined steam locomotives in that their shape was intended not to simply shove the air out of the way, but to channel and guide it out of the way where possible. Beginning in 1942, the Pennsylvania Railroad brought out one of the most unique streamlined steam locomotives ever built, the T1 Duplex. The T1s were single, rigid-frame locomotives with two engine units instead of the typical single engine unit. The streamlining on the T1, designed by Raymond Loewy, was a break from the bathtub-like or bullet noses that came before. Most streamlined locomotives were designed to open a clean hole in the air and close it neatly behind them. The shark nose of the T1 was more intended to slice the air open. Even after steam locomotives were phased out, streamlined diesel locomotives carried the torch until the 1970s or so, when passenger priorities changed. Aerodynamics play into almost all aspects of industrial design today, but some of the first advancements began thanks in part to fire-breathing metal behemoths rolling along two parallel iron rails.